Hey, we're live on Breakout Artists. I'm your host, DJ Thruvo. Today's guest, Young Gifted. Man, this talented New Jersey-based group, they've been putting out hit after hit after hit and really actually been in the music industry now for about 25 years as a group. Now, that's really unheard of because most people fall out, most people stop working together, or most people just want to sometimes see if they can do their own solo thing. But this group, man, they collectively been putting out great music. So today we're going to talk with them. They got a new single that they're releasing called The Exorcist here on Breakout Artists. And we're going to be talking to Love and Profiles. So let's see if we can get one of them on the line right now before we jump into the song because, you know, it's always good to have the guest.
Hello?
Love, what's going on? It's DJ Thruvo, Breakout Artists. How are you?
This PRO, yo, I got to put Love on the line a second. Give me a second, okay? How you doing, brother?
Okay. I'm doing well.
Hold on.
Myself.
I'm doing well. Hold on a second.
So as we're waiting to get them on the line, you know, it's a really exciting time. I love when artists want to call in and drop new music here on Breakout Artists because it just gives us a way of getting to know them. Plus, we get to check out new music, and new music is always good. Man, Young Gifted in the studio today with us. We're going to be checking out their new single. We're just trying to get one more person on the line. So as you're tuning in, you know, be a little patient with us because you can't rush perfection. You can't rush greatness.
We back on the top, Playboy. How you doing?
Hey, okay, so we got Love and Profiles, and that was my bad, you know. I was reading too fast, you know. But
Don't worry about it,
we got
brother.
Young Gifted in the booth, you know. Very, very excited for you guys. So I understand that you guys just dropped a new single today. What's that feeling got to be like?
Oh, man, it's awesome. It's a good feeling. It's always a good feeling to release a new track and to give the fans what they've been yearning for. So we're really especially excited about this track because for those that follow Young Gifted, we do a lot of street anthems and a lot of stuff made for the hood. But on this one, we went a little bit, I would just say 6 feet deep into the darkness. So it's a change up of the music, but the science is going to be terrific for those that understand the stuff that we're talking about in the new drop, Exorcist.
And we've been doing this for a long time, so, you know, to be able to still drop tracks in this day and time is always incredible. So the feeling is definitely great to be able to still do that today and get the love. We dropped it earlier today, and we've already been receiving a lot of love on the track so far. So definitely an exciting day for us.
And speaking of just being in the game for so long, do you even really get excited after 25 years when you're dropping new music? You know, and what has been some of the strengths and weaknesses, you know, of your longevity? Because that's a mighty long time, you know, to function as a group, to continue to put out music and just still remain relevant in today's current trends.
Right. Well, you know, for us, it's a way of life. You know, we came from a state that gave you Naughty by Nature, Redman, Queen Latifah. We live and die for this, and I truly believe if we were out working other jobs, taking care of our families, we'll still come back to do hip-hop, because that's how much in love we are with the music. And we still live it, you know, religiously. We still live hip-hop. The motivation has always just been us being true to ourselves and wanting to keep the sound authentic, keep the lyrics authentic, and keep the fans hungering for more.
I'd add to that to say, you know, one of the things we look at is the fact when you talk about longevity is, you know, to Love's point, being true to yourself. So we got a sound that comes from an era of hip hop where, you know, we don't have that today. That doesn't mean we have to have it, but we don't have it today. So my ear is only tuned to a certain type of music, which is 90s music, and we haven't changed that type of style. So when you look at it, right, the industry is so diverse now that there's so many different open opportunities out there to listen to music that there's a lane for us. You know what I mean? We're not trying to say we're taking over hip-hop or anything like that. That's for them other artists. But at the end of the day, right, there's a lane for us. There's a lane for those that want to hear that grimy 90s type of sound, and we never changed that. And when Total Chaos make beats for us, he's never changed that perception of 90s. You know what I mean? When we gear towards like the Fat Joes and the Remy Ma, that bangs today. But that's our sound. That's the 90s we talking right now. That's why we love it. That's why we, encourage it. We don't say anything about the youth and what they have today because that's their sound. But our ears are tuned to a certain type of music, and that's what we love to hear. You know what I mean? So my track listing got 90s music in it. That don't mean I don't listen to some of the young boy stuff today because some of that stuff is appealing. Some of those hooks are catchy. Don't get me wrong. So, but at the end of the day, when you talk about us and what we're trying to do, if you stay in your lane and you know there's a fan base for that lane, you don't have to worry as much.
True.
Yeah, I can definitely dig it. Now, what kind of influenced you to kind of get into, the 90s? What about the 90s just, inspired you so much that that's the mode and the zone that you wanted to introduce your music to?
No, I can't wait for this one. Go ahead, Love.
I think with the 90s, the impact was so grand, dealing with lyricism, poetry, that it's hard to get out of that. When we deal with the five causes of hip-hop, and that's the mic, that's the DJ, that's the dancing, that's the graffiti, and it's also the fashion.
Talk about
you know what I mean? So we come from the gutter. We come from where hip-hop comes from. So if people look at hip-hop like religiously, it's grown, and then shout out to the world, and everybody has a different sector of what hip-hop should be and could be. But you're going to always have to come back to the streets where it started. And we're like the original people, still in the streets, still dealing with the five characteristics of hip-hop and still keeping it real to ourselves. So lyricism would be my answer to that.
Lyricism is definitely that answer, Love. But what I'm going to add on to that is we're an aggressive culture, period. You know what I mean? So when you think about aggressive culture, everything is competitive. So we from an era of battle rap. So when you look at Smack and all those different platforms that are still out there today, they out there today because that's what we are. So when you think about 90s rap, you think about lyrical bars. You know what I mean? Where you could walk the streets and drop a 6 on somebody to say, yo, did you hear such and such say X? That's missing nowadays. Now, that don't take away from our youth and what they think is fly. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to go in that perspective. What I'm saying is what we like and what we gravitate to is still that battle rap, still that competitiveness. When you think of Pusha T and Drake and what's going on with that right now, that's battle rap. That got everybody interested. Why is everybody jumping on board with what that's going on right now? Because it's battle rap. That's the 90s.
Right.
That's when you have blocks and people just came out on stoop and just dropped their lines on jokers. No beats, no nothing, just straight raw. That's what we want. We want to keep that going. So when you think about that era and what we grew in, and I mean, that right there matured individuals to be what they are today. We still miss it. So when you look at the Smack and all the battles, that's why he's still relevant. Because we still want to see creativity. We still want to see lyrical lyricists. We still want to be able to say, yo, did you hear what he said? And repeat bars. How often can you repeat bars in today's environment? Or when you go back to those artists we had before, you're like, yo, remember when Jay said this? Remember when X said this? You know what I mean? You had that. That to us, is the hip-hop era we came from. That's what we came up in. So when you think about that to support what L.O. said, it's lyrical. We want to hear bars. The hooks and the beats are cool. I love it. That's part of hip-hop.
That's hip-hop. Yep.
The creativity comes from the lyrical. It comes from what are you going to put on this track. You know what I mean? You don't want the track to enhance you. You want to enhance the track. There's a difference.
Church. That's church.
Okay. Now, a lot of people will say that the state of hip-hop has changed, and what people are defining as hip-hop nowadays is probably not what we would have defined hip-hop, in the early 90s, and stuff like that, or even, the late 80s as hip-hop was really evolving and it was just really being introduced to us. So, as artists, how do you feel about that? Because if you look at just, the example that you guys have been giving, and it's not to discredit the younger generation, but lyrical bars, their brains, that's just too much for them to handle, and so a lot of it has now become simplified little chants and stuff like that that's easy to remember, that's still kind of equally as catchy and exciting for them. But how do you feel, that you guys still relate as it goes to that, with the trends of music, not necessarily seeking lyrical bars Does it ever make you guys as artists want to say, okay, well, maybe we should do something trendy as well, too? Or do you still feel like there are people out there that are seeking and searching for that?
Love, let me have this one real quick. Let me have this
go ahead.
one. I'm gonna swing back over to you, but let me get on this one because I love this question. So, when you think about the evolution of the music, it's gonna happen. You know what I mean? So we're not gonna be able to control what we like and hope that evolves into the future. You know what I mean? When you look at these record companies and you look at what's being played on the radio, this is allowed. You know what I mean? So if they really want to come back to a lyrical type of state, we got to get back to a lyrical type of state. But what I will say is what we have today is not, lyrical is not missing. You know what I mean? Drake's lyrical. You know what I mean? But he's an entertainer. Kendrick Lamar is lyrical. But, you know, he's an entertainer. So it's not that we don't have lyricists in today's environment. The majority of what we have is just pop music and entertaining. You know what I mean? So when you come back to looking at what Young Gift is doing, you know, it's a struggle, but you have to be willing to take that risk. And that risk meaning that we got to be comfortable staying in our lane. We know these things is out here. We know that's what everybody wants to hear. But just like everything else, whether it's high top fades, you know what I mean? Whether it's champion shirts and champion jackets and certain kind of gear, everything comes back. You just got to wait your time. Yeah. And what we did from our perspective is when you talk about 25 years, we've been watching. We've been paying attention. We've been here for a long time. We've been doing things for a long time. But as you notice, we now have come out to say, this is what we're going to put out as a platform. This is what we're going to do. You know why? Because we're aware that time is going to start coming back. The reason why they love Kendrick Lamar and Drake, they don't know it, but it's because of the lyrical bars. And we're going to get back to that. The reason why, again, I'm going to keep going to Smack DVD because they haven't been able to decrease what he brings to that platform. That shouldn't even exist, but it exists because that's part of the hip-hop culture. So what I would say from us is everybody got a lane. You know what I mean? There's mumble rappers. There's no disrespect to that. That's your lane. When you do it the best that you do it. If you're lyrical, do it the best that you're lyrical. You know what I mean? If you can get beats and lyricists together, you can do that. That's your lane. Everybody got to be able to stay in their lane. And it's so diverse now, you don't have to worry about your lane because everything is at the palm of your hands. You know what I mean? Social media. You can see what's going on. You don't even do shows anymore. All you got to do is do a 5-minute clip on social media and everybody sees that. That's your new promotion. Yeah. That's your new stage. You know what I mean, Elo? So when I think about, do we have to worry about morphing into what everybody else is doing? Nah, as men, you never chase what anybody else is doing. You never try to follow a blueprint that's already been followed before. You follow your own blueprint, win or lose. That's my thoughts on that. Elo, go ahead and give it to him.
Well, I think you answered that perfectly. Just to piggyback off of you, I would just say you got to have the love and passion for whatever lane that you're possibly in. You got to have the love and passion for it and be able to do it consistently to the best of your ability without worrying about what's the flavor on the radio because they're controlling all that. So once you get into the business and you realize that this is a controlled environment, then you know how to appreciate your artistry even more and what you have to do to stay free and stay mobile to be able to come across to your fans the way you want to.
Elo, to add on that, and I don't even want to let this go just yet, if you don't mind. The key word you said is fan base. So let's look at what is a true fan base today versus what's a true fan base before. You know what I mean? Everybody rides that wave of what's hot. That's a fan base now. A true fan base from our era is you rock with that person, win or lose. You know what I mean? So this fan base nowadays is a wave. What's hot? What's on the radio? What's this? What's that? So jokers don't have true fan bases. Think about it. Let's do this. Drake. Everybody loves Drake. We're going to bring Drake in right now because that's what's hot right now. Where did Drake's fan base go? To Pusha T. Why? Because his bars is hotter right now. Now, they're going to shift back to Drake because he's going to answer that. Don't get it twisted. He's lyrical. He's going to answer that. But the fan base ain't what it used to be. So the Young Gifted fan base remains the Young Gifted fan base. Nothing's changed from that perspective. They didn't hop over to no other individual. They rocks with us day one. So when we think about, do we worry about what's going on now and what's this, we'll lose our fan base if we were to blend into what's going on right now. So, from a little standpoint, we stay true to what we do. It's a risk. If your fan base ain't big enough, you might not win. know what I mean? Are we looking to win, or are we looking to be a consistent fan base? Ja Rule's fan base moved over to 50. Think about it. That's how fast it went. So when we talk about fan bases, you got to talk about loyalty and trust. There's not a lot of that nowadays, but there was before. So our fan base is really a fan base. This new age fan base rides the wave.
Right. That's old. Oh, so true.
Yeah, I mean, I think, the wave is what makes people feel popular, though. It's a community that people can be a part of without necessarily having to have an invitation. And, I mean, and so for all we know, Donald Trump could be jamming out to Lil Wayne or Lil Pump or Lil Uzi or whatever. We'd never know because he's at a position, in the world where he's not going to share that with us. But, before he gets ready for a speech, he might Tupac, hit him up. I mean, and that's just the way that music kind of rolls, But at the same token, I look at what you're saying, building a fan base is 10 times as hard, and the loyalty is not there because there's so many different things that position in front of us. And some people simply jump ship because they don't have a way to defend that they still like Ja Rule. 50 may have said whatever he said about Ja Rule, but then he turned around and did the same thing and made millions off of what Ja Rule did on and stuff like that. It's just that people jumped on 50's boat because he was singing, he was rapping, he was putting out all these different types of shows, and Ja Rule's business sense or whoever he was working with, wasn't quite there yet, or he made some different mistakes internally because, Ja and I aren't friends, so I don't know what exactly happened, but that's what made it more exciting. Like, who are you going to vote for? You're going to vote for the person that, didn't do the Fast and Furious, that's basically put out some little different things and then turned around and went to jail, so he really didn't have enough ample time to defend himself, or you're going to go with this megastar who's basically showing you money, women, drugs, fast life, and all these different entertaining shows. And I think that at some point, like you said, as artists, with longevity like yourselves, you kind of have to set the tone and dictate how you want your fan base to relate to you. And that's what a lot of these artists that are newer, they're coming out, they're introducing fads to their fans. So what other choice do we have but to ride the wave, because there's nothing substantial that's going to hold on to you. Pac and Biggie and stuff like that, they were actively doing things in the community. They were not only doing that, but making artistic songs. They were making songs that we could relate to no matter what walk of life you came from. You could really understand it to a certain extent. So it's all those different levels of foundation that are cemented into your brain to where it's like if they do put out something, you're still going to support them and rock with them, even though you might not like all of their different songs because of everything it is that they're doing. Or you look at R. Kelly, not much in the community, but he still had songs for stepping, he had songs for love, he had songs for freak, he had songs for partying. So it's like all these different range of emotions that we feel in music or that we just feel in life, we're going to have those dedicated cores of building a fan base. And I think that that's what we're really competing against now when you're becoming an artist. Are you going to create a fad, or are you going to take the extra time to create a dedicated fan that no matter where you perform or what song you put out, they're going to at least give it a shot and give it a chance because they believe in the person behind the music, and out of respect, they take chances on the music just like you're taking chances putting it out.
I love it. Well articulated, brother.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you. But, and I think it's important, I think it's really important that you do stay true to yourself because that's what being independent means, and even when you're signing to a label, you're not signing to it because you want to do what works. You're just looking for the funding and the bigger push to put out your art, and that's what you've got to look at, as your music, and that's one of the reasons why, I love having you guys come on board and introduce your music, just because it could be 5 songs about getting money, fucking women, I got bitches, hoes, yeah, which is here on the radio, but you guys still don't come with that. I still feel like,
Right.
I want to, and I'm not even from the East Coast, but I want to put on Tim's, and stuff like that. My beef and broccolis was probably like the last pair of Tim's I ever put on, and really, and get out there. I think of that, that shit,
Right.
and cap that food, and how that made me
You
feel,
already.
that shit came out because it was like really my first kind of introductions, and knowing about East Coast music because as it stands, the radio syndicates what they want you to hear for each market. So unless you're really like a well-versed, popular artist, like crossover to some extent, we're probably not going to hear you in certain states because we all have the same, relay of programming that goes on in music.
No doubt.
Perfectly worded. Yeah, perfectly worded, man. And that's what those young artists have to remember, man, that those record labels, those companies, they have a hidden agenda. So you have to first, before even looking for a contract, before even looking for a deal, you gotta deal with who you want to be, what you want to express in this music thing, because this hip hop thing is the wave of the world. And what I mean by the wave of the world, I wouldn't be shocked if years down the line, presidents start spitting 16 bars while they running. I wouldn't be shocked at that because it's the takeover of music. It's so powerful. It's a way of getting your point across. But you got to know, male or female, who you are before you get into this industry because they'll damn sure change you to who they think you should be and what's hot for the moment. Fast cars, fast money, fast girls, fast food, everything's so fast. You need to take time and think about your album. One of the things that they took away from a lot of companies, big major record labels, was the artist development. They used to have these courses where they developed the artists how to walk, how to talk, how to present yourself. And nowadays you got, I hate to say it, but you got people like Quan getting on specials and you doing a tribute to Biggie and you forget the line. How did it even happen? That's unheard of. But it's happening in hip hop, so we got to pay attention to what's going on in this music genre and help to make it better by starting at home, knowing who you are and who you want to be before you get out, and don't allow the stations or the record labels to change you.
What it does is it comes down to this money, man. Everybody's trying to get this money the fast way. Don't nothing come fast, but these record companies is putting money in front of these youngins, and they not knowing what to do with it. You got to keep in mind, there's certain artists out here that support the younger generation, and they school them to the game because they've been there for a long time. Those artists that don't get put under like a Puffy or a Jay or a Rick Ross or a Jermaine Dupri or individuals like that, all they know is I want to get to the money. That's the era we in right now. Jokers are taking stacks of money and talking to it like they're on telephone. That doesn't work for us. But I'm also not going to disrespect the youth because I have kids and they think that's fly. My mother couldn't tell me nothing different about Big Daddy Kane and Rakim and them. No question. They don't have the guidance. So some come from no money. And then they get the money and they don't know what to do with it. And J. Cole said it best. Those gonna blow through their money and not have anything. No question. But we need to be. I think we got to be able to either figure out in hip hop, do we allow these individuals into the game, or do we prevent them from being in the game? And what we did is we let them into the game. So now this is the blueprint that all the youngins are seeing. If you look at the way they dress their clothes and you look at the way they talking, they looking at 6ix9ine, they think things like that is fly. 6ix9ine's running around doing devious stuff that's not acceptable in the streets, but that's how he plays. Now these youngins are seeing this, not knowing what the translation of that really is. Now OG's is looking like, that kid's playing a dangerous game right now on top of hip hop. You know what I mean? But these youngins is looking like that's fly.
The new cable. That's the internet is like cable television was. It's and so you can be whoever it is that you want to be, and and it's a modern form of expression, and so the world allows us to make buffoons of ourselves because it's a way to still keep us segregated in certain environments. So they target young people who've never had any type of money before because at 39, I'm going to think about my wife. I'm going to think about, my kids. I'm going to think about God. Maybe not in that order. Like God first, and then, my kids, and then my wife. Sorry, God, but
right.
But
No, I know what you're saying.
No
gave me like $1 billion. That's what I'm going to think about. But if I were 17 or 16 or 15, and you gave me millions of dollars, I couldn't say what I would do because I've never come from that type of money. I've never seen my dreams really be able to kind of come true and stuff like that. And that's what it's like for a lot of these young artists. They get on this internet, they make fools of themselves. People like it, and they want to make bigger fools of them and showboat them some money and some opportunities that they never would have been able to achieve on their own. And they take it because what is the other choice? Going back to poverty, or or doing this. And then and our generation, it was like, don't sell drugs because that's what I did. I'm your OG. Listen to me. You don't have to do that. You can go this route. You can reach out to me and da-da-da-da. Now the music is like, do drugs. And if you do drugs, then you're going to get women. And then the women are going to do whatever it is that you want. But you can't do any of it without the money. And if you listen to all of these songs that are popular, those are the 4 direct things that are in every song. Something about, getting naked, or having an orgy or whatever with a woman, doing some type of a Molly or a Percocet. People are doing drugs these days, y'all, that they don't even know how to spell. So they don't even really know what they're getting.
True shit.
But it's the truth because they so high or they so just wanting to fit in with the trend. Think about the level of overdoses we had in the music industry versus, what kids are going through these days, and end up in hospitals, and everybody's trying to make something just because they heard a 6ix9ine say it, or because they saw somebody that's a conscious rapper, but then also make some gangster stuff, or some real street stuff, and talk like Kendrick Lamar. He's got the lyrics and the lyricism, and I love him as an artist, but sometimes, everybody's guilty of making these songs in this current trend that could potentially influence somebody to mislead their life.
Right. But something? Let me just add on and piggyback off of you. Keep in mind, for those who don't know, that's far from the truth of the industry, is a lot of these labels, if you don't make those kind of songs, they don't want to put your album out. And that's not me taking up for Kendrick. That's just me making listeners and fans, his fans, our fans, just fans of hip hop, aware that, there's a demand for these dumbed down songs. There's a demand for these lolly dolly songs to be put on the radio to get this rotation to mislead people into their agenda. That whole trending thing, as far as wearing female clothes, if hip hop has paid attention to it, we was led into that. And it started in the 70s, and it didn't even start in hip-hop. That's how far back this trend has been trying to make itself come to existence. And now in this day and age, it exists. And so they're trying to make it seem like it's okay for a man to wear a blouse.
No question.
No, it's not. That's not hip-hop. Hip-hop is what we live every day. And this is no disrespect to the homosexuals or anybody that choose to live their life free, because you have that opportunity. But everybody has a lane. And in hip-hop, what was cool when it started isn't cool now. You understand me? It wasn't cool to wear pink. Cameron show you, oh, my man, I could wear pink. I could do this and I do that. But the science behind him doing that was to show you that I can do it and still make it trend. Everything's about trending. So you got to be aware of these record companies. You got to be aware of these people that's working with you, that's pushing these young men and women into this, how can I say it, devilistic way of living. And we as hip hoppers that live and die for it, we tend to be upset the way it's going. But I don't blame the youth, because the youth is doing what they have to do to obtain that bag, make sure that bag is still coming. And if you pay attention, statistically, they're making more money than the 90s. So I can sit back and hate and say, I don't like where they're taking it, but I have to respect the bag that these young guys and girls are getting.
No question.
Because they're getting it and they're keeping the culture going. And I salute that.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the way it works, you know. I mean, our grandparents show us how to live one life, and then we
Mhm.
turn around and we still want to modernize it to what's comfortable for our culture. What you know,
Right.
what's really the root of it is just that kids these days don't believe hard work. They don't believe in earning and paying respect to legends. They
Mhm.
don't believe that there's some dues and everything that need to be paid. It's as Jay-Z said it the best in one of his interviews. Everybody wants to emulate, you know, what after the hard work and everything is done, they want to emulate the success, but they don't want to walk
Mhm.
the actual trail of getting down to the success, hearing the no's,
No doubt.
hearing the behind closed door conversations where you've worked your ass off for weeks and weeks and weeks to put out a song, and then the label at the last minute decides that they're going to shelf you because somebody else a little bit more popular comes along, or just the struggles of what it takes to even be noticed or to be heard before you even get to that point to where people are considering, rotating your music, because
Right.
that part is never glamorized. The sacrifices that
True.
you make, the struggles are always kept behind closed doors. It's kind of like the same as like when you're a young man. You may sleep with an ugly girl, but you're not going to tell your homies, and you're going to deny it in public because it's like,
Right.
what? No, I sleep with her and da-da-da. But deep down inside when the lights go off and it's 1 o'clock in the morning and, that thing down there is, is is ready to go.
Talk about it.
Her,
Talk
like,
about
hey,
it. Uh-huh.
I'm out front. Oh, you don't got to walk down. I'll come in through the back door and stuff like that.
No
You
question.
leave your phone and all tracking devices and everything there, and it goes down.
Right.
When you walk past her in public, you walk past her like you don't know her. That's the same thing, with the
No
struggle.
doubt.
Nobody wants to say, like, look, I didn't have this, I didn't have that. They want to make it seem like they just came up out of nowhere, and that's what our youth is seeing, and that's what's emulated in their music. And that's why we probably
Right.
have 10 times more rappers and singers and everybody trying to make it, and as was what caused the market to be oversaturated because everybody's trying to get a check. And some
Right.
people are lucky now because they got stuff that people can relate to. But then you look at it like, damn, is this what my kids are relating to? Waking up in the morning and
Mhm.
smoking a joint and popping a Molly, and then
Mhm.
pulling up on some girls and fucking them and leaving them, to go get a bag and making sure that I got my strap on me at all times. Like,
Uh-huh.
I mean, and that's just crazy. You look at that song, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang, and I heard
Uh-huh.
one of my younger sons singing it, and I had to stop him because, like, what the, you can't be like, my bitch left doing cocaine. Like, where is the creativity? We still talked about that in our rides
Right.
and stuff in the 90s. We did because that was a means of
Right.
survival. That was your 9 to 5 was selling drugs for or to some degree working to that in that era because that's the way for us to get some money. But we didn't glamorize it like you should go do it too because the dark side of it is that you do you do take bids, and you have to decide whether you're going to snitch on somebody and get a lesser amount of time, and nobody be safe in your neighborhood, or take that time to sit down and think. Now it's just like you go to jail and you become more famous. Like, damn, you know.
Right.
Right.
Let's talk about that
I'm
though.
I'm itching to do something to go to jail, so that when I get
Uh-huh.
out, I could be like Kodak Black. I could be like Boosie. I could fucking be like some of these, like Wayne, some of these people that's
Right.
basically Gucci Man, going in and coming back out. And I'm not discrediting them because I know that time that they sat down, there was a lot of different things. But if you look at it, Remy Ma came home and went right back on top, like she never left.
Right.
And it's all
Right.
about,
Right.
and that's what everybody's chasing. How do I create that opportunity, and what risk am I going to take to just get that one opportunity? But as veterans in the game, I pose you guys with this question: is that even a goal anymore to be signed to a big record label and be, signed artist, or do you guys feel like you want to stay and remain independent with your music and have more, rights over your publishing rights over your individual, song collaborations and subject matters and everything and stuff like that?
Well, that's a very good question. And I feel good every time I answer it by saying we have no interest in a record deal. We didn't have an interest in a record deal since 1995 when we were offered a record deal. And unfortunately, and you'll get this in the documentary that we're shooting, the person was murdered. And before I came home, I took a sit down in 1997 and didn't come home to 2003. And the person was murdered in 2001. You'll get it all in the documentary. But ever since then, that person schooled us to the game. We didn't want a record contract since the 90s because we know and understand that what they provide for you, you can provide for yourself. What the record company has is this thing called a machine. And you want to know what that machine is? That machine is nothing but money. They have the money to be able to have you posted everywhere, have the radio stations having your music on rotation, having your videos on rotation, et cetera, et cetera. So we're not worried about the machine. If it takes us baby steps to get to where we want to be, we don't mind taking them, slaving them to make it, but slaving them at our own pace and not being slaved by an industry exec straight out of college, making more off of your music than you, and you want it. So no record deal for Young Gifted. I think we're at a position 25 years in the game where we don't have to put an album out. We can just hit you with singles. And we can hit you with the singles that we want to hit you with, and we can promote it the way we choose to promote it. I think being independent, it helps an artist get fans familiar with their artistry. So I would never promote getting a record deal unless you rock bottom, willing to sell your soul for all the negative fame and riches. So I would never tell somebody to go. I would tell you to go for your dreams, but make a different roadmap to get there because there's so many road maps that you can take to make a bag. It's not just, well, I need to be signed to Ross or I need to be signed to Puff to get a bag. Because you're going to go through a whole lot to get signed with them. Go ahead, Pro.
No, I'm just saying that's the wisdom of it, Elo. I think with us being in the game so long, we learned that. But when you talk about this youth, there's only going to be two lanes. You know what I mean? There's going to be getting this money or there's going to be true to your craft. And I think we took the avenue of being true to our craft with the intent that money might not ever come. But I think there's bigger things than just looking at getting money. It's part of the game. Nobody's, guaranteed to be successful in this rap game because it's flooded right now. So when you think about being true to your craft, we've been all over the internet. We've done 1,000 shows. We've put out music. We still have relevant sound that, people will listen to. So our goal is just to be relevant. When you think about 25 years in the game, that's hard to do. That's hard to say that people want to still listen to you after 25 years. So when you dedicate to your craft with the intent that if money comes, it comes, cool. But there's only two lanes right now, and these youngins is taking that cash lane. Whatever's going to get me the money, I'll sacrifice my craft. Young Gifted won't sacrifice their craft for the money.
Nah, never.
Right.
Never.
And I think that's important, because then you're being true to who you are as an artist, and people that like you, those are the qualities that they'll walk away with versus, let me get to this fast money. But listen, we got a caller that's messaging in, and she's dying to ask you guys a question. So we're going to open up the phone line, and we're going to jump in,
no doubt.
to exercise. Okay, caller, you're coming out to 310?
Yes.
How you doing?
I'm good. How do you guys feel about the Colin Kaepernick situation?
Go ahead, Pro.
It's a loaded question because of everything that we have going on in society. So it expands out to say, what that man did and the reason he did it should be supported by more. And I don't think it is. And I think that comes from the fear of losing that bag. And I think that, what he's doing makes sense. I think where they're taking that whole aspect of disrespecting the flag is false. And I mean, what he's trying to do is he's trying to stand up for what's important. There's been a communication that just came out recently really explaining why he did what he did, because he had a veteran that came to him explaining to him he wanted him to stand up for that because he didn't feel it was important on everything that was going on. We have injustices that are going on, and when we sit around and we dedicate ourselves to the flag, I think they're coming from a military standpoint. People go out there and, they support the country, they lose their lives for the country. That's not what he's saying. And I think what it is you're just seeing the biases of America. You're seeing what was always there. I think we've gotten to a point where we feel so comfortable that we think everything got better when it really never did. And I think Colin Kaepernick is really just showing us we still got work to do. Nothing's really changed. As much as we think we're comfortable in being accepted, that's not happening. And I think that we have to be comfortable and support him, because I have a jersey of him myself, just from the fact that he was able to stand up, put his money on the line to support what we have going out here. I have kids. So when you think about police pulling over your kids and, them not coming home, I have a problem with that. I don't have to wait for it to touch my doorstep to say I have a problem with it. But I think as a culture, what we need to do is be able to stand with him. And I don't think we're there yet. And I think that's the toughest part about everything, because I don't know if we're scared. We're a strong culture as it is. And I think we can get in there and support him. We don't ban the NFL. The NFL players are not banned in the NFL. We have strength in numbers, and I don't think we're touching that just yet. So from my personal opinion, I appreciate everything he's doing for the culture. I think the culture is failing him back because we're not supporting him enough. Do I know how we can do that? In numbers, yes, but as individuals, no.
Yeah, perfectly worded. So I just want to chime in and add that I want to give him the biggest salutation ever, because he did that at a time where, man, you're afraid to be stopped and questioned by police, let alone do something disrespectful like that. So you have to salute that man for being the first of many, because I feel many more is going to come for doing that. And that was a very good question, too.
I love it. Yeah. Appreciate it.
Okay, and so my other question is, what would you say for the new artists that are trying to come into the industry but they don't know exactly how to get their feet wet? What would be the 5 top things that you guys would tell a new artist that's trying to come out and stay true to their craft versus switching into what's hot at the at the millisecond that it happens? Because the music industry is constantly changing, and it's always, like you guys said, the mumble rappers, they're doing their thing, but it's like, there's a lot of people out here that still like, what the hell are they saying? So, there's a lot of people that still are, like you guys, still keep it true to what they know and what they're good at. So what 5 top somebody that's coming into the industry that's trying to build themselves up and build a career and not be, just hot for the second?
Go ahead, love, because I only got one, and I'm going to drive mine home. So go ahead.
Well, first of all, that was a very good question. I feel more artists should ask themselves that question before coming out. I would say, first of all, before recording a demo, writing your rhymes, picking up an instrument, whatever it may be, visualize who you are and who you want your sound to be. You understand me? Start with the vision, because if you can see it, you can achieve it. So, and that's just not a line that sounds good. That's actual fact. So you gotta dream it first. You gotta see yourself there. See what kind of artist you want to be. Then I would say, go into your craft, whether it's singing, rapping, writing, whatever it may be. I would go into it to the point where you're tired of it. And I mean going in it night and day till you're tired of it, but you love it. You're tired of it, but you love it. This is something that you live to do. And then once you got your sound together and who you want to be, then I would go into, making demos, obviously go into doing shows. And always remember, no matter high up, because the more shows you do, the more popular you become, people start putting you on a pedestal. And I like to call it a make-believe pedestal, because no, you're not receiving Grammys, you're not getting none of that yet, but they're putting you on a pedestal, and it's real easy for artists to fall into and start believing. Never believe. Only believe in your talent. Never believe in the hype. That's how you stay true to what you do and what you want to put out. Go ahead, Pro.
Listen, I'm going to take it back a little earlier than that. All that wisdom that he gave is accurate. What I'm going to say from my perspective, and this is my opinion only, is what's missing today. And I think you need to get a strong role model, somebody you respect. We don't have a lot of role models today. And what I mean by that is somebody that's going to believe in you more than yourself. And I mean, you need that in your corner. You don't need a yes man. You don't need anybody to say you hot. You need somebody that's going to be open and honest with you. So, let's just say, for instance, my son wants to be a rapper. If he can't compete as the role model, I got to be able to tell him that. I don't want him to spend 20, 25, 30 years trying to think he's going to get into a game that he's not going to get into it because of the saturation. You know what I mean? So,
right.
From my perspective, no question. So at the end of the day, you have to be honest with the individual. Now, if you come to me with a sound that's different, I'm like, whoa, that's something we ain't never heard before. That has potential. But if you come to me as my son mumble rapping and trap music and all that, that's already saturated. I'm going to tell you, find something else to do. Let's be a doctor. Let's do this. Let's do that. But you don't want people sitting around spending the majority of their lives because if it's a craft and it's their passion, they're not going to do nothing else. That's plan A. There is no plan B. So what we had in our days, we had role models. We had people that told us, like, yeah, I think you have potential. You need to do this. You need to do that. We support you. We do this. And they're able to constructively give you information about what you're doing, and they're honest with you. Some of these tracks we get on the radio today should have never made it. But if you have a role model, they're going to tell you, don't put that garbage out there. Don't waste people's time. You know what I mean?
Right.
So my perspective is get a role model, somebody that's going to be honest with you, even though you might not be honest with yourself. I want somebody to tell you, you know what, Pro, you're garbage. Let's be honest. I think if you was hotter, then do it, but you're not. So I got to be able to accept that I don't like it, but I think that there's too many kids out here seeing this social media outlet, and all they think they need to do is put a 5-minute video together, color their hair. They following everybody that's done it. That's not guaranteeing to get you anywhere. You're going to waste time. As a father, I need to educate you to say there's other things you can do. As a culture, we only bucket into certain things. We're on that street corner, we playing ball, or we think we're going into the music industry. Why is it that we don't know there's other options?
Right.
Right.
Totally.
Wow.
Okay,
Caller,
well,
thanks for calling in. You got Young Gifted in here giving up the game. I think I might want to be a rapper. Can y'all be my role model?
The bag is there.
We appreciate your questions, though. Thank you for that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good one.
So we're going to jump into this Exorcist because we've been talking our asses off and ain't even played the new single, man. Here's Exorcist by Young Gifted.
Yes, yes.
I was born out of wedlock from a he-devil and she-devil's lustful act. Hell be my birth spot. Several years back in the state of Vinci, there lived 6 women, 6 men. All of them were gay. On the 6th day of the 6th month, with the 6 sons of Satan. We're waiting 6 girls for devils mating. Life before birth is like the worst thing that hit me. I'm unhuman. I'm a black sheep from a witch tree pursuing warlocks. The golden child of hatred is me. This kid love spelled backwards stands for medieval. See all my zombies, all my spirits, all my niggas, all my bitches. Bear witness as I sacrifice this human's life for living. Now thank you for giving me a holiday like Thanksgiving. I'll be giving you the bad meat untraceable. Killings every man for himself in this man-made land. There's no man who can help your facing death. Allow me to get physical with your imagination. My killers appeared 13 Fridays before Jason's. Yeah.
And that was Exorcist by Young Gifted. Now be sure and tune in to KRXMradio.com, every day at 11 a.m., well, between 11 and 2, to hear that song. If you love it, you like it, and I got to say, it's like, wow, there's so many different things that are going on in that song, that make you think. But to concise it, it's like dealing with your demons, and everything that kind of goes on in life, which is what a lot of people don't want to talk about and don't really want to address that they feel, but to put it in a lyrical point to where you're not making somebody feel bad that they have those demons. Lyrically, I got to say, long distance high five, big shout out to you guys, because that's important. You still don't want to influence people to do negative things with your music. You want them to be able to learn and to better their life, or to be able to take away some experiences and stuff like that. You don't want to harm them. So, I definitely love what you guys, where you guys were going with the music, and just ultimately, I think that's important. Where can we find you guys on social media? Our listeners are asking.
Twitter and IG. Just put it at Young Gifted 3000. All the information's on there. Links to Facebook, different outlets. Just go there. We got some incredible things coming up. We got some new music coming. We're going to talk to the fans. We're trying to get this out here, see what everybody's thinking. We're going to put together a blog opportunity to be able to speak to everybody that's following us. Those that's not even rocking with us, you can come on that blog too. We love them all. We love everybody. As long as you're talking about Young Gifted, whether positive or not, we support that. So please come to at Young Gifted 3000 on Twitter and IG, and there's other outlets to be able to follow us on those sites.
And to add on, I would like to thank you for your interpretation of the song, because a lot of interviewers, as well as fans, they take it the wrong way. They hear something like that and they automatically think, oh man, they're Illuminati, they're devil worshippers, they're this, that, and the third. Instead of listening to the lyrics, having a little bit up top on the cap, do some research, and you'll realize that this Exorcist song, although we wrote it in parables, there's a lot of science in it, and there's a lot of understanding that needs to be understood in today's walk of life. So I appreciate your interpretation of it, because you didn't look at it a certain way. You actually listened to lyrics, and I hope the YGB followers do the same thing, because we got this whole new medieval wave that's coming, where we're going to change the language in hip-hop, we're going to change the thought process in hip-hop, and we're going to take it back to the original state. But in order for those to travel with us, they got to get that knowledge of self of who they are and who this music is. And once they get that...
Talk to them jokers about the fact that this is not new. This ain't new. The track is new, but the thought process and the path we've been on is not new. Talk a little bit about that.
I'm going to let them know. I'm just going, and I should say this for the documentary, but we had like Jimmy Iovine tell us 25 years ago that we were 15 years ahead of time for hip-hop when we was producing this medieval music. So no one understands that the science is going to be rich. But if you look at it a certain way, you're going to already have a personal opinion about the group and not want to listen. This ain't Satan music. This is God music. So no one understands when it's all tied together, you guys just sit back and say, wow, that was a very articulate and creative way that they expressed themselves. Shout out to Shanklin, Gunswick, New Jersey.
Talk about it all day, Exit 9.
And that's really the reason, as we close out, that's really the reason why we have artists come out on Breakout Artists. 2 points you hit. One, the lack of artist development that's out there, which a lot of artists need grooming and need an opportunity to be able to, have places where they can articulate and talk about their music. But the other bigger part of it is that a lot of people don't take chances on certain music because it's just music, but they take chances on people. And by asking the questions, talking about the different subjects that we, were discussing, you get to know the person behind the music. And everybody that's a timeless artist, we feel like we know them or connect with them in some type of way. So when they're going through it, you know, when Pac died, I felt like I lost my best friend. When Biggie died, you know,
exactly.
my stomach was hurting, and I didn't
Same
know.
here.
You know, Jackson, you know, when I was like, what? When Prince died, I was like, I had a range of emotions because at any given point, you're connected with these people. And as independent artists,
Right.
there's not a lot of outlets for us to be challenged to really express ourselves. You're not going to come on Record Artists and talk
Right.
about all this money that you have and all this life that you're living, and there's no facts stated in it, because whether you call it hip-hop or whether you call it real life, you're not building anything solid based on a facade or based on a fantasy that you have in your head. And so, you know, I thank you guys mucho because you took the opportunity to really express what you guys felt. We got a chance to listen to your music, and it now gives other people that are fans of Young Gifted or soon to be fans of Young Gifted a way to connect with you guys interpersonally, which then out of respect they'll turn around and listen to your music. And I think that that's what
Right.
the most important part is, because a lot of these interviewers is just you ask simple questions. What are the top 5 artists that you're going to work with? What is it about your music that's great? And they cause artists to want to live in the fantasy because, you know, they really don't have anything else going on, and the top 5 artists that they're naming, they're most likely never going to meet because they're not on the right path or the right mental stability to even get to, you know, people listening to it outside of their garage. So, you know, Breakout
Right.
Artists, that's why we're formed. We thank you guys tremendously for, you know, for stopping by and dropping
Appreciate
every
it.
single. Be sure and
No
follow
doubt.
them
Appreciate it.
on social media. Be sure and follow me at official DJ Thruvo at KRXM Radio, because they were gracious enough to give me a job, you know, and keep us keep us
Yes,
posted.
sir.
Anything that you guys have new coming out, we'd love to be a part of it. And this is your host, DJ Thruvo, Breakout Artist, you know, a Young Gifted, and we are out.
Peace,
Appreciate
Total
you,
K.
brother.